Welcome to my compost pile, everybody. This is not the most glamorous part of my garden, but I've done something kind of interesting out here this season that I wanted to show you. Down at the far end, we have the fresh compost, the fresh material that is just in the process of composting. And as I work my way up this direction, I have 2- and 3-year-old compost, and then actually 5- and 6-year-old compost down here. And I do use it in the garden, but I always have a large pile to sort of maintain. Since I'm not traveling this year and I'm actually home to maybe enjoy some fresh vegetables, and I don't really have a place in the main part of the garden, I decided to turn my compost pile into a vegetable plot. So you'll see here in front of me, in the part of the pile that is still mounded up, I have potatoes sprouting. These are the fingerling type potatoes that you buy in the grocery store for $5 or $6 for a very small bag. At one of the garden shows this spring, I was able to purchase a bag of tubers for about $5 or $6, and out of that $5 or $6 investment, I'll get 30 or 40 pounds, maybe more, of potatoes this summer. The great thing about this is that the compost is so loose that when I get ready to harvest, all I'll have to do is dig under the plants just slightly, enough to loosen them, and I should be able to pull the potatoes right out of the ground. That keeps from stabbing them with a fork or slicing them in half with a shovel as you're trying to dig them. So then, as we move further down the pile, I actually raked this down level because I love to have a few homegrown tomatoes to eat every summer. And again, I didn't really have a spot in the main part of the garden to be able to do that. But I do have this little spot out here. And I wanted to show you because we're actually down into native soil. I think sometimes because you have the opportunity to see all of us on television each week, that sometimes it's kind of assumed that we all have perfect gardening conditions. And I want you to know that we garden just like everybody else in Tennessee does. We have clay, we have rocks, we have all kinds of things. So you can see that I'm down in here into this brown tan clay level of soil, but there's about 4 inches of compost over the top of it. When I get ready to plant my tomato plants, there is always, I always dig a big hole, much bigger than you might think is necessary. But I'm going to show you how and why here in just a minute. But what I want you to see is if you really learn how to use your tools, chop this soil up good, it will break up really nicely in just a few turns of the shovel. And with that good layer of compost in there, what is not the most desirable soil in the world actually becomes pretty good. Now, I learned to plant tomatoes from my grandfather. I still do it the same way. I've done it for 40 years. And we just kind of make a big well here. Push some of this loose soil out around the edges. I've chopped down good and deep. I'm going to take one of these tomato plants. We will pull the bottom leaves off, just like this. And you want to plant deep. I know that other people have talked about this on the show before, but I always like to bury the stem of the tomato about halfway because it will always form roots along that stem and you'll have a much stronger plant for it in the future. So, quick and easy as that. Pack this well in around, I'll come back and tidy this up just a little bit later on, but pack this good and tight, and then when you water in the summertime, you have a well here to hold all of that water right around the plant. Fertilize about once a month with whatever your favorite fertilizer is for your vegetable garden, and you'll have a huge crop of tomatoes all summer long.
For inspiring garden tours, growing tips, and garden projects, visit our website at volunteergardener.org or on YouTube at the Volunteer Gardener channel, and like us on Facebook.